There were some very important books, of course, before the coup. You see, Africa Must Unite.
Tell us more about that.
And Neocolonialism, two of his major works. Well, Africa Must Unite, I mean, the title says it all, and that message is still valid today. But neocolonialism was in part responsible for the coup because it exposed, you know, the workings of international finance capital in Africa, actually gave charts showing the network of these big foreign companies that were exploiting Africa's resources. And that was probably the final straw in deciding this dangerous man has got to be removed, you know. We cannot have Africa united or in control of its own resources. And so that was a factor because it had such an impact in America. The American government immediately stopped aid to Ghana when that book was published, yes, and lodged a very strong diplomatic complaint, you know, through their embassy in Accra, complaining about the book.
So it is very brazen and clear. It is clear to even the blind to see and the deaf to hear that ECOWAS is locked and loaded. They're not interested in negotiations. They want to fight. They want to pull Nigeria into war. They want to cause chaos in the Sahel. And the CIA agents on the continent of Africa in the positions of power, in the position of influence, whether it's president, prime minister, whatever the case is, are willing to go down that route of going to war. So this is what is going on now. We have seen that over the past 2 to 3 days, tanks from Burkina Faso and Mali have been coming into Niger. They have also sent some fighter jets, and they have also sent military advisors on the ground to Niger. So these 3 countries, Guinea, Mali, Burkina Faso, have made it clear that they are going to be involved in this conflict. Now, for this, there's a simple or strategic reason that Guinea has not openly sent fighter jets or personnel carriers or things like that yet. It's because Guinea is on the coast. So it will be difficult for Guinea to do that because it will create a situation whereby they might blockade them on the sea and make it difficult for even Mali and Burkina Faso. Because Mali and Burkina Faso are landlocked, they are very big countries. So it will be difficult for ECOWAS to even dream or think of invading them. The same thing with Niger because it's easy to walk in. And this is the warning that they have been sending to the Nigerian president and whoever is pushing the envelope for this war. To get involved in this war, you can't go out of it. It's easy to send troops in brand new uniforms to the field, but how do they go out? You can ask other countries, let them tell you their experience. Sudan, Egypt, Somalia, Afghanistan, like the list is endless. You can ask all these countries that have had their share of military coups, that have had their share of conflict. Go and look at what happened in Central African Republic for over 20 years. And that was even a nuanced kind of tribal war between the different groups or different religious affiliations. Just imagine declaring a war on northern Nigeria and the whole of Niger, because intrinsically you are declaring war on northern Nigeria. So the latest news update today is that the people from Guinea, from Burkina Faso and Mali have been sending tanks and been sending fighter jets. They have been also sending their personnel to the field in Niger and preparing and training and preparing for this war because they know that the war is imminent. The signs are there. It is written on paper. It is, in fact, intelligence that have come out recently because the Burkinabe government is very close to the Russians. So the Russians are also accessing information and passing it over to the Burkinabe government. And the Burkinabe government is passing such information to the government in Niamey. And it is abundantly clear at this point in time that no matter what kind of negotiation you talk about, no matter what you do, they are locked and loaded. They are trying to send innocent Nigerians and innocent Africans to fight and die for a cause that does not serve Africa well. The West is trying to press the reset button at this point in time. They are trying to hit the reset button to go to war because if you look at the records, you know, there's this project they call the project for a new American century. Now, this idea is that anytime they are losing grounds, anytime they are losing face in the world, like the dollar is being threatened today, they go to a major war, create a major problem, you know, bully, intimidate, and frighten everybody so that they can go back or revert back to the order. And they are looking for new or fertile grounds to make sure that this project succeeds. So they have failed in Ukraine because the Russians have flooded them there. So they are trying to shift the focus from Ukraine now to Africa. And Africa, where can, the best fertile ground for you to carry out such invasion or for you to invade is a country like Nigeria that has everything. Nigeria have everything. You understand what I'm saying? So if they must come, they are looking for a place like Nigeria because it's very fertile. It's a place that they can come and invade and send their troops on the ground and occupy and take away our resources. And this is the plan. These people are not planning for tomorrow, for next tomorrow. They are not planning to stay in office for 3 or 4 days. Like the governments in Africa are planning for. They are planning for long term. Their goal is 40 years, 50 years. How can the dollar remain the dominant currency on the block? How can the dollar be the currency that they will continue to use as an international standard currency? This is what they are planning. And it is very clear. So they have done that diplomatically, and they have used unorthodox means to also entrench themselves within the polity, within Africa, and they have refused to leave, as a matter of fact. So there's no way you can explain this again other than an attempt to create a situation of proxy war where they will, cause chaos in Africa for people to fight and kill each other so that the West can benefit. And it is very fatal for them. It is very good for them because they create a situation of chaos, of conflict, and they benefit from it. It's just like what they do, and they create virus. They come up with Ebola, they come up with swine flu, they come up with all these problems. And the main people that are causing these problems are the big pharmaceutical companies. You look at arms manufacturing companies that are acting almost like people selling coffins. They want people to die. They want a fertile ground. Where can we test our latest equipment? The only way we can make money and test our latest equipment and make more weapons is when people are fighting, when we can supply to Saudi Arabia to bombard them, and when we can sell to Nigeria to invade Niger Republic, when we can give to Nigeria weapons and indebt them for the next 50 years and come and take over their resources. Let's create a situation of chaos. Let's look for puppet leaders and threaten them and bully them and intimidate them and blackmail them to go to conflict for us, because it is, Nigeria has over 200 million people. So if 100 million of them die, it's not going to be a problem. You understand the point I'm making? So this is what they are trying to create. They are trying to create a situation whereby tension will emanate, where conflict will emanate. And who is going to benefit? America. America already have soldiers on the ground all over Africa. They are talking about, they have CENTCOM, there is military air base in Niger. There are US soldiers in Nigeria today as we speak. What are you going to say about that? The foreign troops on our soil in Nigeria today. In whose name? Who are they representing? And how can we get rid of these colonial people that have infested our continent like moths? People talk about freedom and, America, freedom, liberty. It is all bunkum. It's all baloney. The only freedom that exists is for the oligarchs, is for the elites that rule the United States of America, that have continued to destroy America in their own interest. What has happened to Africa? What has happened to the Middle East? Look at what they have done to Asia. Look at the militarization of the South China Sea. They are hell-bent on going to war with China today, which they will lose, by the way, and they are trying to use their puppets in the region, like the Japanese, like the Koreans, to do their bidding. They are not even puppets, they are vassals, because America control the decisions on the ground in these countries like Japan and South Korea. And why they are doing that is because the dollar is very strong. They are using the dollar to intimidate, to threaten them with sanctions, or that they will make their economy crumble and so on and so forth. So they are pressing them and acting them and forcing them to act in manners and way that does not serve their own best interest. And that is why these guys are on the continent of Africa today. How long can we continue to tolerate these people on our continent? We must stand up and say enough is enough with these people. How can we, as Africans, this is Africa. We are blessed. We are blessed with everything, the land, the manpower, the resources. Everything is on the ground. Everything we desire, everything we long for. We have it in abundance. And why must our leaders go there and be begging for printed paper every time? They will go there and kneel down because of their stomachs. They'll give them this money. These same idiot leaders will take the money back to Paris. They'll take the money back to the US and hide in offshore accounts to take care of their kids so that their kids can eat junk food and get fat. Is that why we are voting for them? And look, this is what my own problem, because when people talk about democracy and even the fact, I don't even believe that voting works in Africa or anywhere as a matter of fact, because the elites do whatever they want. That is the idea. The elites do whatever they want. They come up and create a system whereby it only benefits them. We must say enough is enough to these foreign powers. And people don't want to hear because it seems like it's monotonous or something. But this is the situation that have been created by people that have sat down and designed these programs in America, in France, and in Britain. And they come and impose it on African countries. They come and say, oh, Africa, you must imbibe this, you must adopt this. As we see in Nigeria today, the government is not focusing on the very needs and the aspirations of the people. The Naira have lost its value. Naira, which is the currency of Nigeria, has lost its value. We have continued to suffer through inflation. We have continued to suffer from terrorism, from banditry. And look at the records of some of these people carrying out these terroristic attacks on the continent of Africa. If you go to Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso, Guinea, Benin Republic in the north, Togo in the north, in Ghana, somewhere in Ghana, in northern Nigeria, we are facing these challenges of extremism, of terrorism on our continent. And who is playing this card? Who is leading the charge so that this can continue? The Americans. They are there, they are right there on the continent, and they will not allow us to live in peace. All they want us to do is to fight. They want us to fight. They see us as animals. They see us as barbarians. So we are the ones that can fight for them. And this happened. This is no longer the First World War or the Second World War, where African soldiers were conscripted to fight on the side of Britain. The people that helped Britain today, that island would have been sunk underwater are the Indians, the Africans, and the Russians. But that is so inconvenient for them, they will not want to say it. You know, they love America, so it must be America. And America did not come to the war until the last minute. They came and were bombing empty cities after the Soviets have won the war. The Soviets won the war. The Soviets saved Little Britain from being colonized and bombed by Nazi Germany. And today, the Africans and the Indians that fought on the side of the British cannot travel to Britain today without passport. They cannot travel without being harassed, without being intimidated. But their cousins, the Germans that bombed them, that bullied them, that I don't even see a difference between Winston Churchill and Adolf Hitler. These are the same people. What is the difference between what the Germans did and what the British have been doing in Africa and other places? These are the same people that had human zoos. They created the concentration. People talk about Hitler creating concentration camps in Germany and in the occupied territories, in Auschwitz, and in other places in Europe. The British were the first to create these concentration camps. They used it in South Africa. And we have this concentration camp today, even in Europe, in places like France, with these shelters they call asylum shelters. People are kept there, intimidated, forced to work, extorted, enslaved, and so on and so forth. And they come to our continent of Africa as well and take our... What is going on as a result of this is they cause conflict in Africa, to depopulate Africa, to get people to jump on boats, to go to their country and work as slaves. They're trafficking. Look at what they are doing to Ukraine today. Young girls at age 4, 5 have been trafficked, have been taken as sex slaves at a very young age by these European guys that have money, because they have killed their parents. They have led them to needless war and destroyed them. And this is the sad reality of what is going on. And the earlier we see that, the better for us as Africans. The earlier Tinubu sees that, the earlier the Macky Sall sees that, the earlier Nana Akufo-Addo of Ghana sees that, the better for us Africans. And I'm glad by what Sierra Leone, Liberian president did. He refused to attend the meeting. He sent a low-level delegation to the meeting in Accra, Ghana, because most of them have been threatened that if they don't come, they are going to sanction them and this and that. At the beginning of this nonsense, Benin Republic said, look, we cannot close our border with Niger. We have been trading with them. What have the Nigerians done wrong to us? If you, Nigeria, want to impose sanctions on them and do what you want to do, Why are you trying to use ECOWAS and intimidate everybody? And what these guys will do is that they will use the umbrella of ECOWAS, they will use the umbrella of human rights, the umbrella of democracy, human rights, transition to constitutional rule, to impose sanctions on a country where 60% of their budget is already on foreign aid. You take away the foreign aid, you cut the electricity supply to them, because the people have decided to have a choice. They have decided to refuse to be slaves of France and America and Germany and Italy. And these guys, they are insisting that the military outposts in these countries must leave. What is wrong in saying that we don't want to be slaves? And the Nigerian president, an asset of the CIA, these guys are obviously remote controlling the president of Nigeria. It is clear for everybody to see. He might be a good guy, the president might be a good guy, but why is he acting like he's being pressed from somewhere? Like someone have their hand up his ass. Excuse my French, but this is the reality. The president seems not to be acting out of free will. And that is why we must liberate him from the pressure. We must liberate him from the stress. We must liberate him from whoever is pressuring him, whoever is remote controlling him, whoever is blackmailing him to lead Nigeria and plunge Nigeria into chaos. War is not an option. We don't want to fight with our brothers. We don't want to get involved in a conflict, in a proxy war between the United States and Russia. How will it benefit us if we fight with our brothers in the name of the United States of America, in the name of France?